came to me to just share this, talk about this. Yeah, it's just the sense of once you awaken to who you are, or realize that you're not your thinking, your thoughts, you're not your emotions, but that which is seeking solution, it's also the one directing you to stop using the automatic mode as if it's the solution for life. There's a kind of misunderstanding about when we really want to change our life or to heal our pain or traumas, when we think there is something wrong with us, that the first questionings or the first doubts, there is this kind of curiosity in our mind where we want to know how, why, and somehow it's very interesting because that which is seeking solution or seeking fixing to its pain, most of the time it's psychological pain, psychological suffering, because it's a bunch of beliefs, what we believe about ourselves. And it's kind of interesting because that which is seeking solution, it is the one almost initiating our path of self-discovery. It brings us to the path of freedom or liberation from it. And I understand there is a lot of teachings where we have to deny the ego. I don't like denying the ego because from my experience, the ego was never the enemy. And until you discover that there is no enemy, the only difference is that the ego is full of misconceptions. The ego in reality was always misdirected in a way that it's full of conditionings, distorted beliefs, a bunch of, I think, if I can say like that, meaning a bunch of thoughts, but ignorant thoughts, ignorant beliefs. And that causes us pain, psychological pain, and emotional discomfort, because we believe that we are those emotions and those kind of thoughts. But somehow something in us wants liberation out of it, and it's almost the ego trying to tell us, hey, look, you're misusing me, misusing what I am, and I'm trying to put you in that path of curiosity or trying to find solutions to fix me, but in a way that you're eating or consuming too much non-healthy food. And because of those ideas and misconceptions that we have about who we think we are, and when we start looking for solutions, in the same way that we believe, for example, if I broke my phone, I'm gonna look for a place maybe to fix it. And once it's fixed, I don't need to think about it anymore because it was fixed. In the same way that we believe in those kind of it's fixed, I don't need to think about it, we look for an inner fix, or I'm looking for spirituality or awakening to fix my issues. And once I am enlightened or once I am awakened, I don't need to look for solutions anymore. I've seen in my experience some people awakened and going back to the automatic mode. And I want to bring this example because I found it very interesting. It just came to my mind a few minutes ago. It's like a camera. If you buy a camera, or like a camera on our phone, most of the time the functions are automatic. You don't need to think about the exposure, you don't need to think about the speed. So all of that, you don't need to think of it. You just focus and press the button. Is it good? Okay, it's good, done. In the same way, when we are looking to get spiritually awakened, we want to get out of automatic mode to manual mode, to conscious mode. Meaning that once you discover like the power of your camera in a manual mode, you have that, wow, I can do all of that. And it's almost the same as realization. You realize that you've been your whole life in this automatic mode where you feel that you had no control whatsoever. You could not change anything, just reacting all the time. And when you get to this conscious mode where you become aware that you are aware and that you are not your thoughts, you're not your emotions, and there is something deeper in you that is quiet, it's like silence, but very peaceful. And you have that, aha, wow, I've never felt this before, and now I can feel who I am, so I'm not all of that, so I'm not that automatic mode. But then from that point, there is that belief that's not questioned about the fix. We think, we can get to that point where our mind think that it's fixed. I don't need to do anything anymore. And somehow it doesn't. Because what happens is, when we change, when you get out from this automatic mode in our life and go to a more conscious way of living, I like to put in this way because that's how it is in my experience. I have to check in with my inner self, I can say, and my inner self directs the small self, the mind, and then the mind takes action in the world, or that's what it has to do. So that's the same thing that has to happen. In automatic mode, our mind is trying to control every single thing, even our heart. In a conscious mode, it's the heart that has to direct the mind. But there's always that idea where, okay, now I'm conscious, I don't need to think, I don't need to check in, I don't need to do anything anymore. But it's the same way as in the camera. Once you start using the manual mode, you always have to check in the settings. You have to check if everything is proper to take a very good picture, for example. But if you think that, like, oh, I got to this point of manual or conscious way, I don't need to think anymore. I just have to react. But living in a conscious mode, it means that you're always gonna be in a conscious mode. You have to be aware that you are in a conscious mode, but from that point you have to take conscious actions. Sometimes your inner self doesn't want to go out, for example, doesn't want to go, if I can say, it doesn't want to do anything. But doesn't mean that because there is a feeling of not doing anything, it doesn't mean that it's denying life or denying the experiences around. That's also a misconception, a misunderstanding. And sometimes the inner self, for example, it's totally fine. You can do whatever. You can get up, drink a beer, you can get up, go to eat an ice cream, and there is nothing against it. It just is that thing, that action. And there's nothing wrong with it. Or you go to a party and talk to friends and there is no feeling of, oh wow, this is so mundane. This is so like the world conversation, or it's so superficial. It's like, it is what it is. It's part of the self. It's part of the experience. Or the sense where, oh, now that I'm awakened and conscious, I cannot go to see my family because they are in a position where they talk from the ego. That's the ego talk in ourselves. That's the distorted idea where I cannot mix anymore. But the point is just to understand that once we get to be in this journey of living consciously from awareness, from who we really are, there is always this sense where we always have, not always, but somehow, for a while, we have to be always checking the settings of the manual mode until we kind of master it. Because if we don't master in a way of living consciously in every kind of situation that we're facing, there's always the impulse, oh, I wanna go back to that automatic because it's easy. I just press the button. I don't need to think of anything. I don't need to decide anything. Or when we have to decide certain things in the manual mode, we have to do the check-in. How it makes us feel, how it makes me feel, and then respond in the world. Not just being very reactive to what we think it should be or should not be. Because that's automatic mode. It's already there. That's what came to me to just share this, talk about this. Yeah, it's just the sense of once you awaken to who you are, or realize that you're not your thinking, your thoughts, you're not your emotions, but that which is seeking solution, it's also the one directing you to stop using the automatic mode as if it's the solution for life. Stop using the automatic mode expecting different results around you, different arrangements around you. But at the same time, if you want to but if you want to really live life from this space of pure peace and very conscious and seeing the life from this not separated way, but seeing life from what it is and also what you are as life, like in unison with everything, but not in unison where you're gonna dissolve and disappear, and because you disappear you're different from those who are just living unconsciously. That's not it. That's not still separation from the mind points of view, but living in this where you don't separate from the moment where you look for a plant and you see that it's also born out of this space where everything is just love, joy. Better not to put a name, but just that you're conscious and everything seems to be conscious together. But from now on, every decision, or it's not just to be used when you have a problem or you have an issue. It's just to be conscious and present in every single moment. Not just to use the automatic mode or the manual mode when it pleases you somehow, because spirituality is not here to be used as a tool or be used to solve problems or to solve ideas, but it's here as a way of living, because that's how I see meditation nowadays. It's not something to be used to get from point A to point B, but to realize that you are pure meditation. You can live pure meditation. That's the way of living consciously in awareness, but meditation not as a practice or tool to be used, but as a way of living every single second, this second, and this second, and this second, and this second, and so on. So yeah, thank you if you stayed here until now, and see you next time then. Bye bye.